Howdy, folks. What's going on? This is the Outlaw Hatfield back at you one more time. Folks, I am running late. I do apologize. It's one of those situations where I just lost complete and all track of time. Let me get my camera set up here so it looks at least a little bit normal. There we go. Um, as of right now, we have absolutely nobody out in the comments section, which is not surprising considering I'm late. So, anyway, Rich, how are you tonight?
Tired.
I'm tired of.
I'm on zero sleep in the last 32 hours. So,
Why are you on zero sleep for 32 hours?
because I have issues sleeping sometimes because of physical issues I have.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you was like binge watching WrestleManias from years gone by.
No, no. I did watch some New Japan earlier this morning.
I haven't watched any of that actually. The last time I actually sat down and watched a Japanese wrestling broadcast was, God, I guess 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to their subscription service, and it's worth the money because you get like 12 or more shows every month, just about.
Hmm.
What you get, you get the house shows, you get the major events and everything.
Hey, Kingpin, how are you, sir? Well, so I have a question for you though. Are they still? Do they still have American wrestlers showing up over there like they used
Oh
to in the
yeah,
older days? Okay.
yeah. They get wrestlers from all over the place. Japan, obviously, Mexico, uh, England, United States, New
Okay.
Zealand.
See, I know that, and most of you that have any knowledge of professional wrestling know that J- wrestling is bigger in Japan than it is in the United States. It's huge over there, and it's actually so big that they actually make these people national monuments and crap. I
Yeah,
mean,
there are.
they
So there's four major men's promotions over there. You got New Japan, All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, and Dragon's Gate. And then you have two women's promotions: Stardom, which is owned by the same parent company as New Japan, and then there's another one that I still cannot remember the name of. It's not the men and women over there do not wrestle on the same show.
you know,
They're
you know,
completely separate promotions, and they each have umpteen different wrestlers from all over the world that compete in both. In them.
um, I remember back in the day, you'd get like guys like Vader, the Road Warrior, Stan Hansen,
Uh-huh.
Terry Gordy, Steve Williams.
Yeah.
These
Well, if you
guys
look at
would.
the Bullet Club, which is the big heel stable over there, right? That started as the Gaijin stable over there. It was basically a NWO clone, and it was all Westerners.
Hmm. Okay. Um. Yeah, but like I said, I remember back in the day when the Americans would go over there and they would actually go all out. I mean, they would almost pamper these guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they put on big, extravagant shows and parades and everything else for these matches. It's taken very seriously over there.
Yeah, the shirt I have on now, this is a New Japan era Elite shirt. The Elite are the ones that left New Japan and formed AEW. This is a Kenny Omega shirt. Kenny Omega is a Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the people from the Western Hemisphere and England and all that. They're still big over there. When you go over there, and one of the things with New Japan is they have deals with other promotions around the world, like CMLL in Mexico, which is one of the two big promotions in Mexico. The other one's AAA, which has deal with AEW. Then they got Rev Pro over in England. Right now, they're the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Champion, which is the main champion in Rev Pro, is wrestling in New Japan exclusively right now because of COVID.
Mm.
He's defending his championship over in Japan. And his girlfriend is the Stardom Women's World Champion, essentially.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. People don't realize how big wrestling is in other countries. I mean, look at Mexico, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah,
they turn their wrestlers into television superstars over there.
Oh yeah, Lucha Libre is huge in Mexico.
So, as
Go to
big as
Puerto
it,
Rico. Puerto Rico, you got the promotion that's owned by Carlos Colon. That is huge down there. I gotta clean my glasses off.
well, you get your glasses cleaned off, and I'm going to sit here and look ugly like I always do.
But I'm still
here. Could you imagine? And this is one of those fantasy things. One event when you bring guys from, the Japanese wrestling, the guys from Mexican wrestling, some of the guys from the AEW or WWE, and you throw them all in one arena at one time, we'll have.
I'm trying to remember 2019. They had a big show in Madison Square Garden that was put on by New Japan and Ring of Honor that had guys from all over the place. They had some guys from Independence and Ring of Honor and New Japan. They had some people from Mexico. Then when they did All Out, All In, the first pay-per-view that's AEW but not AEW, you had New Japan, AEW, AAA, CMLL, all working together to put that show on. Cody Rhodes put that show together with the Young Bucks by themselves. They had no promotion sponsoring it, but they got all these wrestlers to come over and do it through negotiating with the different federations.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they sold out the Sears Center in Chicago in a day.
Wow.
And they did it because Brian Meltzer, or what's his name? The guy that always did the dirt sheets back in the day for wrestling. He challenged Cody and said, "Nobody in Independence could put a show together that's this big." Cody took that as a personal challenge, and him and the Bucks put it together and pulled it off.
Hold my beer.
Exactly.
See, here's the thing about making a challenge like that or saying something like that to a guy like Cody Rhodes. First of all, you got to remember who his daddy was. His dad was Dusty Rhodes. He was universally respected all over the world as one of the greatest of all time. Okay? When a guy like Cody walks up to one of these other promotions and says, "Look, I want to do this show. This is how I want it to run. This is what I want to do." They may not all say yes, but you can bet your butt the majority of them are going to because of just who Cody Rhodes is.
Mm-hmm.
And you could bet your butt he had backing of other individuals other than just him and the Bucks. I would say behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, they were getting sponsors and stuff to kick money in, but it was all the three of them. They're the ones that sat down, figured out what they were going to do, who they were going to go to get the backing for it. Because I know they weren't funding it, but they went and got funding from different investors and stuff that invested in it. They booked the show. They booked everybody that was going to be on the show. They're the ones that negotiated with New Japan, AAA, CMLL, Ring of Honor. You name the promotion, and everything but WWE. They had people from just about every wrestling promotion except WWE on that show.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, and you can and I bet a few of the WWE guys would have loved to have been there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Um, was Dustin involved in that?
No, he was still under contract with WWE at the time.
That sucks. That's the problem I have with Vince McMahon. I mean, I have, and it's no big secret. I have not got a lot of love for the WWE. Never have had. I mean, there's been some great rivalries, great matches over the years, but as a whole, I've never liked the product. I was always the NWA WCW guy. I will always be that guy.
Yeah. All in is also where the uh, tensions between Jericho and McMahon started, because Jericho had a deal with McMahon that he could wrestle anywhere he wanted as long as he didn't do it in the United States.
Oh, really?
In the United States, he was only going to be they had a gentleman's agreement that Jericho would only wrestle for WWE. Jericho, as part of the storyline from New Japan that he had with Kenny Omega, dressed up as Pentagon Jr. at the end of the match between Kenny Omega and Pentagon after Omega had won and Pentagon was supposed to be laid out. Jericho came out to the ring because the lights went out, switched places with Pentagon Jr., and then attacked Omega in Madison Square Garden. Vince, from all accounts, had a shit fit when he found out about that.
Oh, So I just never was a fan of the WWF WWE product. To me, it was always too cartoonish. To me, there was too much of this and not enough actual wrestling. If you remember, and I know you do, the 605 show, there wasn't a whole lot of talking during any of that. Even when it went on to Nitro, there was less talk and more action.
See, there was talking on the 605 show. The thing was, it was going on while the matches were going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then that was the thing, there wasn't all the weird skits and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, like if Tully Blanchard was fighting somebody in the ring, you would have Rick and Arn at ringside with Tony Schiavone and David Crockett doing their promo while Tully was in the ring wrestling some
exactly,
like George South or somebody,
They have I don't know how to put it, dramatized it too much in the WWE. I don't need to see skits. I'm not interested in seeing skits. As long as it has something to do with a match and it's not 15 minutes long, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I like the way New Japan does it. You don't have the wrestlers coming out and doing, like you said, talking in the ring, except for like after the main event, the guy who won may grab the mic, or if they're trying to put together a championship challenge, somebody will grab a mic after a match and talk in the ring that way. But most of their talking is done after the fact. Backstage, they'll have like what looks like an interview area set up, and that's how they do their promos, kind of like an interview, where they're being interviewed by the Japanese media, and they're actually being interviewed by the Japanese media giving these promos. It's really because they have all the main Japanese media covers pro wrestling over there.
Oh yeah,
it goes back to what you were saying about how popular it is. They literally have reporters working for the newspapers covering this stuff. The major newspaper in Tokyo gives out an award every year to the best wrestler.
Yeah, that's that. Like I said, over in Japan, in Mexico, they take this stuff very serious. It's almost like a national sport.
Very much is.
I can't think of another sport in Japan that's as big as professional wrestling.
Baseball.
Maybe.
Baseball, huge over there.
Maybe. I don't know if it's as big as professional wrestling.
Maybe. Baseball is absolutely huge in Japan. They love baseball over there. They have the second biggest professional baseball league in the world behind the United States.
See, I didn't know that. See, that's news to me. But you know, you look at Japan and you think, you know, what is it that pushes them to enjoy wrestling so much? Why do they get into it so much? It's right up their alley. I mean, it's you got barbarians, the Americans showing up, and the evil tyrants that we are, and it's and the Japanese samurai hero. It's
Yeah.
they work it to where it's believable over there.
Yeah, when you watch a Minoru Suzuki match, you literally think he is trying to hurt his opponent.
Oh yeah,
He's a 50-some-year-old man, and he's out there looking like he's legitimately trying to put somebody in a hospital.
and it used to be like that here, and I wish it still was. When wrestling went from professional wrestling to sports entertainment, I pretty much gave up on it right there. I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. But slowly it's coming back around, and I'm slowly getting back into it. I don't think it'll ever get back to the point where I'm going to be rooting for somebody like Dusty Rhodes. Excuse me. Um, I don't think there'll never be another time when there'll be a guy like Magnum TA that's really going to, I'm going to be able to get behind and say yes, yes, yes. I don't think there'll ever be another Ric Flair or Tully Blanchard. You know, these guys were masters at what they did. You know, and if you watch those old matches, there wasn't a whole lot of high spots. There was high spots, but it wasn't every other move is a high spot, and it kept you engaged. You
But
know,
I can think of one guy that would fit in with them, and that's the guy whose shirt I'm wearing right now. Kenny Omega, when he's on his game, is the best wrestler in the world right now, bar none. They just haven't booked him that way right now in AEW. They're building up to it now, I think. But if you watch Kenny Omega's matches with Kazuchika Okada over in Japan, those are the matches that broke Meltzer's 5-star rating scale. They were so good he was giving them 6 and 7 stars on their matches. We're talking 60-minute time limit draws. And then the final match they had together, they put in no time limit, and they went over 60 minutes.
You see, you don't see that anymore. That used to be a normal thing. Hey, Mayor, how are you? For those of you that don't know and just joined me, we just got a message from the mayor of Roadkill Hollow. They're in Tennessee. It's nice to have you. He was not to get off topic here, but I'm going to get off topic here. The mayor here was doing a Facebook show a little earlier, and I just happened to pop onto it. I've been following his Facebook feed for quite a while now. I guess it's been a year and a half. I ran across it and just sort of fell in love with it. For any of you guys out there that's on Facebook, check him out. Check out Life in Roadkill Hollow, and it's absolutely amazing. The guy puts out some hilarious stories. If you don't laugh, you just ain't got no sense of humor. There's just something wrong with you.
Getting back to Okada and Omega, they did 4 matches over in New Japan. The first one, Okada won. The next 2 were time limit draws. The first one went 50-some minutes. The next 2 were 60-minute time limit draws. The fourth one was a 2 out of 3 falls, and that match went like 65 minutes.
You
And
know,
Omega finally beat Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight title in that match.
well, you know, there was a time when that was the norm. You know, the world championship match would go an hour, a Broadway. There would
Oh,
be
yeah.
no winner.
Yeah, that's what they did. They did one where Okada won, 2 Broadways, and then Omega won in the blow-off match for the feud.
I mean,
And they did that over a couple of years. This wasn't all in 1 year.
no,
Because
yeah, I know.
yeah,
Um,
Omega had to win. One was he won the New Japan Cup and faced Okada. Then the next one he won the G1 and faced Okada. Then the other two, I forget how he got, but there was a storyline there. So this was over the course of like 2-3 years that took place.
yep. Yeah. Do you remember the Iron Man match with Bret Hart and who was it?
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. Yeah, it was Bret and Shawn, and everybody was
The
talking
Montreal
about.
Screw Job.
Yep. Everybody was talking about, you know, how amazing it is that these two guys were going to go an hour. An hour. Ric Flair did an hour every other night.
Oh, you didn't see that in WWE. WWE, you didn't see the hour-long matches.
Yep.
In NWA and WCW, you did, but not in WWE until now. You see that in NXT. They've done that in NXT. A few weeks ago, the setup for the number one contender for, I can't remember which belt it was, but they did a 4-man Iron Man match. A fatal 4-way Iron Man match.
And who won?
Who won? It
Yep.
ended up being a tie between Finn Balor and Adam Cole. It was for they were the number one contender for the NXT title. That's what it was, or whoever won was going to be the NXT champion. And they had that be a tie. Then the next week they had the tiebreaker match between Adam Cole and Finn Balor, which Balor won.
Let me ask you a question. I was thinking about this earlier today at work. Let's say you're in a major wrestling city, right? You know, and this actually about happened. Pretty close. But let's say you're in, I don't know, Charlotte, North Carolina. Everybody knows Charlotte's a big wrestling town. Always has been. You've got the old WCW wrestling on one side of town. You have the WWE wrestling on the other. Which show do you go to?
That depends on who's on the card.
Well, let's put it on the line. I mean, we're going to go with the Hulk Hogan days of WWE before the whole rush to WCW in the 90s. So we're going to stick with the 80s crowd from the WWF, the 80s crowd from the NWA, and we're going to put them both in Charlotte. Which show do you see?
Again, that depends on the card. I mean, if you got Hogan versus Savage, I might be going there. If you got Flair versus Magnum TA, I might be going there.
Yeah, exactly. But let's make up the cards. Let's make up the cards. Okay, on the main event for the WWF would be Hulk Hogan versus Jake the Snake Roberts. That's a match anybody would have paid to see back in the day. Right?
I don't think they ever put that match on.
Nope, they didn't, I don't think. But it would have been a good match to see. On the other side, you've got the world champion, Ric Flair, going up against, I don't know, Nikita Koloff. Okay. for the Intercontinental title, you've got Randy Savage against. Oh Lord, there were so many to choose from at that point in time. Greg Valentine. That would have been a pretty good match at that point in time.
Yeah, but it would have been heel versus heel. WWE wouldn't have done that.
Well, this is true.
What's Steamboat
So
there? Savage versus
okay,
Steamboat.
Savage versus Steamboat. In the NWA, you'll have Magnum TA going up against, well, Tully Blanchard.
Yeah.
So with those two main events on each side, we'll have a tag team match: the Road Warriors versus, I don't know, the Midnight Express for the NWA. Tag team match for the WWE is the British Bulldogs versus the Hart Foundation.
Good Lord, man, you're not making this easy.
Of course not. That's the idea. That's the idea. And then, of course, a few undercard matches, which really wouldn't have mattered a whole lot. So, which show do you go to?
I do not know when that count. I mean,
now,
being from the Northeast, we mostly what we got was WWE. It was only on Saturdays we got NWA stuff.
Yeah.
But you
see, I already know which show I would go to.
I know what show you would pick because you're more of the Southern. Me, I watched both growing up.
Well, I could have said, because you got to remember, I said in the 80s. I could have said, I could have said Steamboat versus Flair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but since you said Intercontinental title,
yep,
and Steamboat went back to the NWA, Savage wasn't competing for this Intercontinental anymore. At that point, He was in the world title scene.
He was in the world title scene at that point. Yep, exactly.
And that's a hard choice. It really is. Those are both really good cards.
Yep.
That's a coin toss, man. I'm pulling out a quarter and I'm flipping a coin on that one.
Okay, so let's add one.
Another thing to factor in: WWF cards at that time cost more than the NWA cards.
Yep.
Depending on how much money we would have in my pocket too, that would be a major.
Okay, so let's throw a couple of other ringers in there. We're going to go with, let's say it was before Andre got really bad. So we're going to have an Andre versus King Kong Bundy match too.
I was going to say Big John Studd.
Okay, Big John Studd. We got Andre versus Big John Studd on the WWE side. On the NWA side, we're going to have a dog collar match between Dusty Rhodes and Ole Anderson.
You're still not making this easy.
Yeah, you're hating me right now, aren't you? You're hating me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are pay-per-view dream cards all day long on both of those.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I don't know. That's too hard to make a choice right now. Back then, I don't even know what choice I would have made.
And here's the thing: you're going to get a free ticket to either one. So,
well, I know the one card that at one time I actually have gone to watch it. It was an NWA show. And the main event was Ric Flair versus Magnum TA. I religiously at that point was watching Saturday Night's Main Event and stuff too. So, yeah, that's, man. I honestly don't know which one I would. If I were to, I don't know. I still would probably have to pull out a coin.
Yeah, flip a coin.
Yeah.
I would have went to the NWA show. Period. You know that. But now let's.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Gizzard Gary's out there, and I see you, Midnight Range. How you doing, Bubba? Now let's really talk about a dream card. Okay, let's take things and mix it up again. Mix it up. We're going to have a card where Magnum TA is going up against Hulk Hogan for the WWE World Championship. Both being baby faces, by the way. We're going to have Ric Flair putting his title up against, Randy Savage. Let's do that. It was done in real life. We can mimic that. Dusty Rhodes versus, what was the top heel? Another top heel. Jake the Snake Roberts.
I was going to say Dusty versus Arn for the World Television title. That's a match.
Nope. We're going to go with Dusty versus Jake the Snake Roberts. A grudge match. But to make it something special, it's going to be a barbed wire match because Dusty had a few of those. Okay. Those get a little brutal, by the way, folks, if you hadn't never seen one.
Yeah.
We're going to have Demolition going up against the Midnight Express for the WWE World Tag Team Champions. We are going to have the Hart Foundation going up against the Road Warriors for the NWA World Tag Team Champions. Now,
that would have been a good match, and it never happened because the Hart Foundation had broken up before the Road Warriors made it over to WWF.
Yep, it would have been. And for just the shits and giggles of it all, we're going to have the Rockers versus the Rock and Roll Express.
Did that ever happen in real life?
No, I don't think so. And that's the card we're going to go with. Who wins each match?
Well, let's see. I'm going to say Hogan's going to win against Magnum TA, but with the caveat that he hadn't been established enough yet in WWF that where McMahon was not going to have Hogan lose to somebody who just came over right away. That just wasn't going to happen. Remember, Flair, when he came over, did not beat Hogan. Flair won the world title in the Royal Rumble because
I just said hello to you, Midnight. Midnight's got his panties in a bunch again.
Some of the other, I don't remember what some of the other matches were.
Okay, let's talk about the Jake the Snake Dusty Rhodes match. Who wins that one?
That's a toss-up. If they're booking Jake like he was in Mid-South, that's a toss-up.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Jake. Jake's a dirty sucker. He pulls something out of his tights. He hits Dusty in the back of the head. That's it. It's over. 1, 2, 3. Jake wins.
Yeah, but Dusty wasn't always the rosy smelling baby face either.
Oh no, I've seen.
He might see that coming and be ready for it.
Yeah, well, I've noticed Dusty taking a boot off a time or two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Steamboat Savage match.
Again, that's another toss-up match because those guys, and they could do a 60-minute by themselves.
Yep.
So, we've seen them wrestle where one won and then the other one would win later on. I'm going
to say that's a Broadway.
Yeah, that's a toss-up or it's going time limit. Yeah.
Okay, Midnight Express Demolition.
Well, 3 of those guys know each other. 3 of them had wrestled each other.
Yep.
Demolition has the wild card in the unknown against the Midnight Express. I'm going to give a slight edge to Demolition on that one, simply because Crusher Khrushchev knows those other two guys.
Well, this is true. I'm going to give that same slight edge to the Midnight Express because Jim Cornette has a tennis racket that's loaded.
Mr. Fuji had salt in the cane.
This is true. This is true. Oh, well, see, that's something else we have to figure in. The managers might get involved, so we might have a manager fight out there as well.
Oh, Fuji would kick Cornette's butt. Fuji was a wrestler. Cornette wasn't.
Well, yeah, this is true, but if Cornette hits Fuji in the back of the head before Fuji knows what's coming. Okay, Heart Foundation Road Warriors.
Oh, man, I don't know.
Now, when I say Heart Foundation, we're talking the Anvil and Brett.
Yeah, I know. We're talking in their prime. Heart Foundation was more technically sound, and if anybody in WWF was going to go strength for strength with the Road Warriors, it would have been the Anvil. I'm going to give the Heart Foundation a slight edge. Slight. Because of Brett's technical ability.
Okay. I say that I think that the Anvil and Brett's going to get cocky, and when they do, they're going to get their heads knocked off. I think the road.
Yeah, you got the Jim Cornette factor here too. In this case, Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart with the megaphone instead of the tennis racket.
Yeah, and then there's Paul Jones. Then there's Paul Ellering.
Not if it's a WWE match or WWF match.
No, it's not. It's not a WWE or WWF. It's just a card. Paul Ellering's there.
Yeah, but Ellering wasn't known to interfere in their matches like Jimmy Hart was.
Yeah, this is true. But if Jimmy Hart interfered, do you think Ellering's just going to stand there? You remember, Ellering was a wrestler too.
Yeah, but he didn't have a weapon.
He didn't need one. He didn't need a weapon.
Yeah, I'm still giving the Heart Foundation just a slight edge. Just the tiniest little edge.
Not me, Bubba. Okay, the Rockers and Rock and Roll Express.
They're the same team.
Well,
they're literally the same team.
Pretty close.
Oh man,
pretty close.
I'm gonna give the edge there to the Rockers or Midnight Rockers because look at the career Shawn Michaels had compared to, as a solo compared to the other two.
The other three, you mean? Well, I agree with that, but I think as a tag team, they would be hard pressed to beat the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky Morton had more ability, I think. If Ricky would have got the solo push.
Oh, he did. Don't you remember? They had a series of matches with him and Flair.
Yeah, I know, and they were damn good matches. I mean a serious solo push, like they gave Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, but one thing you're forgetting here, when the Rock and Roll Express was the NWA Tag Team Champions, the Rockers or Midnight Rockers at the time were the AWA Tag Team Champions.
Yep. So I think it would be a good match. I think it would be probably a long match because I think they'd be doing the whole catchers catch can thing, trying to keep up with one another. In the end, I'm going to call it a double disqualification.
Two babyface teams, and you're going to have a double disqualification?
Yep. Pride.
Baby.
Nope, double disqualification. Anger and pride is going to get into the way. Anger and pride get into the way. Somebody get mad, grab a chair.
No, I don't think so. Not with those two teams. Not at that point in time.
Okay, well, time limit draw.
Time limit draw or double count out, maybe. The two legal guys can't get back into the ring in time or whatnot.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll go with that. You know what? We just put together a super card that will absolutely never in any reality ever happen.
Speaking
Which
of
is
time
a
countouts, another aspect of New Japan that's crazy, they have a 20-second count out, but if you get counted out and you're the champion, you lose your belt.
see. I like that. I like that. Um, but it's just the way things are slightly tweaked from one federation to another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what were some of the different rules between the WWE and NWA or WWF and NWA?
Well, if you
The
remember,
NWA had no pile drivers. First of all,
yep,
that
over
was
the top
completely
rope, and
banned.
it's a disqualification
Yeah,
unless it
yeah,
was a battle royal.
yep. Um, it also depends on that for a while there. If you remember when Bullet Bob Armstrong took over the NWA, didn't they have this rule against coming off the top rope? You wasn't allowed to do that either. It had to be from the second.
It might have been a thing.
I think it was. I'm not 100% sure. I seem to recall something like that.
Yeah, that might have been one of those storyline things because he was supposed to be like the butthole guy in charge.
Yeah, and he just kept changing rules and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you have to remember there was so much going on at that particular point in time. I mean, you had Rob Parker doing his thing and so much other crap going on. You had Harley Race with Vader. You know, Tully and Arn had took off to WWE, and Flair was feuding with pretty much everybody. So
Yeah, including the front office.
yeah, including the front office. I'd say he won that particular match though. Taking the world championship to another federation with you pretty much says I win.
Can you blame him?
Well,
They
no,
wanted to bring him back
he
as the
had what
pilot. He's like,
20. He had what $25,000 on the line,
yeah,
something
he
like
had
that.
$25,000 deposit that they owed him back for handing that belt back over, and Jim Herd wasn't going to pay it. And he's like, nope, I'm out of here, and I'm taking the belt with me.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Flair have help pay for that belt?
No, the belt
Uh,
was that belt was owned by the international division at WCW.
Well, I remember. If you remember the original NWA belt from the '80s, it
Oh
was
yeah, they still
gold. It was the gold and black one.
they use that now in NWA.
The first time, and it was what they called it, the 5 pound belt. It was supposed to
10
be
pounds of
five
gold.
pounds.
10 pounds of gold.
Yeah, and then the new one was supposed to weigh like 10 pounds more or whatever.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like 15, 20 pounds. And I can
So
believe it. Big Gold is huge.
yeah,
That belt is massive.
yep.
And AEW designed their title belt after it. If you haven't seen the AEW title belt, it's got
No,
that
I
really
haven't.
big front plate on it. Oh no, not AEW. I'm talking NXT, and the NXT title is the one that's designed after it.
I don't remember another championship belt before that one that actually had a nameplate on it.
Yeah, that was the first one. Big Gold was the first one to have the nameplate.
So, first time I seen that, I was like, "Wow, that's nice." Uh, and I think it went through what one or two changes after it first introduced. I know it got a big dent in it somewhere along the line, or a bend at
Yeah,
either the top or the bottom.
there
Done.
were that belt over history had 3 different faceplates on it. The front faceplate. One had NWA, one had WCW, and one had WWF. Or WW. Make that 4 because I forgot because that belt was in the WWF when it was the WWF.
Yep.
So they had 4 men from WWF to WWE.
And then there, of course, there was a spray painted version.
Well, that was the same belt. They just cleaned the
Yeah,
spray paint.
yeah, black spray paint NWO,
Or red,
depending. Yes,
depending
depending.
on whether it was Hollywood or Wolfpack.
Am I the only one that got absolutely sick of the NWO after a while?
They did tend to run that into the ground, especially after
Um,
the finger poke of doom.
you know what got me? Okay, I could handle the NWA. That was the NWO. That was pretty cool. Wolfpack thing, okay, yeah, I can deal with that. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was an
And
interfaction.
then it was the Latino World Order.
Mm-hmm. But that was
And
Eddie Guerrero doing his own thing. That wasn't actually part of the New World
and I
Order.
was like, good Lord, man, give it a
Yeah.
rest.
But
Let this.
then you had almost everybody on the roster was in one faction of the NWO or another. You know, it's like, what the hell are you people doing? And then they merged them back together after the finger poke of doom. And then the NWO went away. And then they brought it back as NWO 2000. And then right after that, it's about the time when the WCW fell apart and Vince bought it. And then they did the storyline where Vince was tired of the invasion angle. So he brings back the NWO again. And somehow Shawn Michaels ends up in there in charge of it. And it's like, what the holy hell are you doing?
See, the whole invasion angle thing just irked the piss out of me. It really, and I watched some of that, and I was just like,
It could have worked if they did it right.
if they did it right. But they were making jokes out of all the guys coming in from the WCW
and ECW. Because you remember,
Yeah,
one faction was WWF, the other faction was WCW and ECW.
you know, and they were just making jokes of these guys. Yeah, to me that was petty and vindictive BS. Um, it's
That's exactly what it was.
and I was like, so you're going to take it out on the wrestlers because the company busted your butts for a year and a half.
That's Vince
So,
McMahon.
and what sense does that make? Um,
Why was NXT moved from Tuesdays to Wednesdays? Because of AEW. That's Vince McMahon.
well, here's the thing. I think that the WWF has now got not one but 3 different organizations pulling fans. You've got Impact, you've got AEW, and you've got oh god, what's the other one? You mentioned it earlier. The third Ring of Honor.
Yeah, Ring of Honor and Impact really aren't a threat. They haven't been in a long while. Ring of Honor never was. Impact could have been, but it was so badly ran under Dixie Carter that the company just fell apart.
Now, didn't Jeff Jarrett own that at one point?
He was the original owner, him and his dad.
So what happened with that?
They sold it to Dixie Carter, whose dad was funding it. She ran it. Her dad funded it. Her dad is a quadbillionaire in the oil industry. So he was, whatever his daughter wanted, his daughter got. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. His daughter wanted to get into the wrestling business, so he bought her TNA.
Wow. And then just changed the name over to Impact.
Well, no, that was after she was out. That was after she was kicked out of the company when they finally got rid of her. The new owners, Anthem Sports, I think, are the ones that own it now, or some along those lines. They own it. It's a company out of Canada. They own it now, and they're the ones that changed the name to Impact. Impact was originally the show name.
Yeah.
It was TNA, and then Impact was the show. They changed it from TNA to Impact as the Federation.
I don't know, man. I had watched
playing it before Anthem did, but then when he wasn't able to buy it, when they wouldn't sell to him, he went and bought the NWA instead.
Yeah. See how well that worked.
It was working until COVID.
Yeah. Well,
and
it ain't over. It ain't over.
He's not closing the Federation. It's just right now they're having a hard time because they don't have the budget that the other companies did to get these people all the testing and stuff that's necessary. You got NWA people fighting over in AEW or in Ring of Honor. Like the NWA champion has been defending the NWA championship in Ring of Honor, and their women's champion has been defending her title on AEW.
Huh? Yeah, and you know what? I think that's good for business. I think that that it shows camaraderie. It's Cody realizing, or whoever owns AEW right now, realizing that, hey, things are bad, and the only way we're going to stay afloat and they're going to stay afloat is if we help each other out. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, the owner of AEW is Tony Khan. He's the son of the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, well, there you go.
The facility where they're putting on Dynamite is owned by the Khan family.
But again, I honestly think that I think that's a good thing. Do you remember when the NWA and AWA used to do that? They would have cross shows like that.
Oh yeah, the Road Warriors were simultaneously the NWA and AWA World Tag Team Champions, and they would come in both federations with both sets of belts.
So it's not unheard of. And that's what a lot of the newer fans of pro wrestling don't get. There was a time when, especially in the territories days, where all these promoters would get together and they'd talk this, that, and the other. They're having issues with one guy. They just ship this one guy out, bring somebody else new in from a different federation, different territory, and they just keep it going like that right there. And Vince McMahon Sr. was part of all that.
Yeah. It was. Vincent Kennedy McMahon is the one that broke all that up and refused to work with anybody else.
And it made him a billionaire, but it also made him look like a dick to everybody else. So, but it is what it is. Where do you see AEW in 5 years?
They're still going to be on TNT. They just signed a new contract with them. Originally they had a 2-year contract. They just extended it another 3 years.
So you think that they're going to start growing, getting bigger?
Well, they already are. I mean, they're beating NXT every Wednesday night.
Are they?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They're not up to Raw and SmackDown ratings yet, but they are beating NXT every Wednesday.
Well, that's saying something. Because as far as I'm concerned, NXT is a better show than Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah. NXT is the best show WWE has right now. NXT has old NWA, especially now with them being in that smaller environment where they're not. Well, NXT always was in a smaller environment, but with they having the screens with the fans and everything on it, but it's a smaller have you seen what they've done with the Thunderdome and Raw and SmackDown? They basically did a smaller version of that for NXT now in the Performance Center, and they're calling it the Capitol Wrestling Center, which was the original promotion that the WWF was owned by. That was Vincent Kennedy McMahon's father's company was Capital Wrestling, and they're called Capital Wrestling Center. It's basically what was the Performance Center, where they would have the ring set up in the Performance Center, and then they put the screens around, and they have some fans in there too now. It's got more of the studio wrestling feel to it, like what you would have with the old NWA show on TBS, and they put on some good matches in there, and that's where they do their pay-per-views for NXT from there too.
Yep. So how you know me, I love tag team wrestling. What's the tag team wrestling scene right now in AEW?
They probably,
other than the Young Bucks, because I know they're fantastic.
They probably have the best tag team scene right now.
Do they?
Yeah.
Who's the top guys
right now? FTR. They're the champ. They're going to be taking on the Bucks at full gear coming up in a couple weeks.
See, I have always been a huge fan of tag team wrestling. You know that. Don't get me.
When they have that match, it's going to be, you turn back the clock, it's going to be Arn and Ole versus Rock and Roll Express.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. You know, I look back on my childhood and I remember the matches that really set me off, that really got me excited. It was Rock and Roll against Tully and Arn, or Rock and Roll against Midnight, or Rock and Roll against whoever. It was the Road Warriors versus the Skyscrapers. It was Road Warriors versus Midnight Express. Road Warriors against anybody else you want to put in front of them.
Yeah, the Irwins in the AWA.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, what was his name? I can never remember his name. Was it Steve? I don't know. I think it was.
You know, the Steiner brothers versus Doom, or Harlem Heat.
Doom is an underrated tag team, man. They were Rich Reed.
Well, I thought they were one of the best tag teams out there for a long time.
Everybody forgot about them, because who were they going against at the time? You had the Road Warriors, you had the Steiners. Doom gets forgotten because they weren't around that long as a team, but man, them, Harlem Heat, the Steiners, the Road Warriors, WCW had one hell of a tag team division at that point. You had
they had
in there too.
Yeah, well, that, and you're forgetting another big team that popped up and won the world title. Bam Bam Gordy and Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Yeah, I mean they had one hell of a tag team division at one point.
They had the best in the business, and I always loved it. I honestly do not think that I would have enjoyed wrestling as much as I did without seeing, guys like Ricky Morton, especially Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton could sell his ass off. Getting the absolute crap beat out of him for 15 minutes in a match, then make that hot tag to Robert, be sitting up, laying in a corner, Robert's taking care of business, and then, Robert makes a second quick tag, and Ricky comes in and rolls up somebody in a small package, 1, 2, 3.
There's a reason why the hot tag, some guys call it Ricky to Robert.
Yep.
There's a reason. That's one of Kevin Kelly's, when he's calling tag team matches in New Japan. That's one of his favorite expressions, Ricky to Robert, whenever the baby faces get the hot tag.
Yep. And there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
The Road Warriors got over by just being big and powerful and mean and just unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock and Roll Express got on it simply by sympathy.
Yeah. They were a better version of the Monkeys.
Yeah, exactly. Poor Ricky would get in there and he would get absolute pounded on for, like I said, 10, 15 minutes. and you would just be holding your breath and screaming at the television, "Tag Roberts," you know.
Oh man,
And
the
when
matches
that finally happened,
before the Midnight Express even came on the scene, Rock and Roll Express versus the Russians. Take your
yeah.
pick of any of the three, whether it was Nikita and Ivan, Khrushchev and Ivan, Khrushchev and Nikita. I mean, good lord.
Yep.
The Rock and Roll Express would just be getting torn to bits in those matches, and then hot tag.
Yep. Robert Gibson get that tag, come in, fist of flying. Now, do you remember the cage match where Ricky they finally won the World Tag Team Championship?
Yeah.
It was a small package in the middle of the damn ring, and nobody expected it. Everybody was looking for the double drop kick. It never came.
Yeah.
But
they won a lot of their matches that way. Because if you go to Mid South, when they won the Mid South Tag Team Championships off the Guerreros, they didn't win by using the double drop kick in that match. That was the one we were talking about last week, where they had one of them up in the surfboard and the other one crawled in between them and picked up.
Yep. I'm gonna have to find that match on YouTube and watch it, because I have never seen that match, and I really need to watch that match. If it's on YouTube, I will find it. If anybody else happens to find it, send me a link to it, because I want to see it. Anyway, Bubba, we've been going just about an hour. I think we're going to call this one done for the night. I want to apologize wholeheartedly for being late getting on here tonight, guys. I want to apologize to you, Rich, for being late. It's just things happen. My phone started ringing, it didn't stop. Next week, hopefully, things will run a bit smoother. I'll be here on time. Hopefully, we'll have some actual topics. This week, we were just running it by ear, which is fine because me and Rich, between the two of us, may be able to throw some facts at you here and there. Possibly. Rich, again, I thank you, sir.
Yep.
Is there anything you want to say? Anything you got to plug?
No, I ain't got nothing to plug. I ain't got nothing else this weekend because we're going out of town tomorrow. So,
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody out in the chat tonight. God bless y'all. We love you. Take care. Be safe. Say prayers for each other. Bye, y'all.
Later, folks.